¿Cómo empiezo con esto de reflexología? Cada persona tenemos un proceso en la vida. Y hay momentos en que necesitamos encontrarnos a nosotros para poder primero encontrarnos con los demás para encontrarnos con nosotros.
So, how do I start with reflexology? Each one of us as human beings has a process. And there's a moment in which we have to encounter others in order to encounter ourselves.
Okay. Yo estaba pasando una etapa de mi vida de un divorcio y necesitaba encontrarme conmigo mismo, pero no quise llorar solamente en mi cuarto, encerrarme, sino decidí hacer algo más de mi dolor. Y hablé con el padre Javier Calvillo de la Casa del Migrante que me permitiera ir a darle masaje a los migrantes.
So I was going through a very difficult stage in my life. I was going through a divorce, and I decided to do something with my pain. Instead of isolating myself and just being by myself in the room, crying and isolating and getting depressed, I decided to do something with that. So I went to Juárez and talked with Father Javier Calvillo, who's the director of the Casa del Migrante, and I talked to him and I asked him if I could go and give therapy to the feet of the migrant.
¿Por qué reflexología y por qué de esa manera? Porque en Nicaragua había conocido yo la experiencia de un centro de rehabilitación para drogadictos en donde les daban reflexología para la ansiedad. Entonces, cuando yo empiezo a pensar en ir a la Casa del Migrante, dije, yo no puedo atender a todos los migrantes, pero sí puedo atender a uno y hacer la diferencia.
Why reflexology? Because in Nicaragua, I had spent some time in Nicaragua in a rehab center, and I saw that they were giving therapy and massages and reflexology to the people that were there in order to calm them down. And
sí. Y cuando empiezo a hablar con el padre, pues suena muy bonito, pero en ningún lado se estaba dando eso. Y luego, ¿cómo iban a reaccionar los migrantes? Iban a acceder que yo les tocara sus pies. Un migrante, el que menos tiene para atravesar todo México, tarda 1 mes y medio. Hay personas que tardan hasta 1 año, desde Chiapas hasta Ciudad Juárez o Tijuana o cualquier otra frontera.
One thing I forgot to mention is that he was saying that with reflexology, he was not able to solve the problem, but he was going to be able to help at least one migrant, and that was going to be enough for him. So again, he started talking with Father Javier Calvillo, and yes, at first it sounds really nice, right? I'm going to go and give therapy, I'm going to give a massage to the migrants, but no one was doing that, right, at that time. And then you have the other side, like how are migrants going to react to me touching their feet, right?
¿Por qué? Porque al tocar los pies es pasar un límite. Es pasar un límite y es los pies, hay una frase que dice que los pies reflejan tu historia.
So by touching the feet of someone, it's like you're over, like you're passing a line, right? It's something very personal. And he's saying that there's a saying that says that feet reflect the story of the person.
Entonces cuando yo llego la primera vez a la Casa del Migrante, al entrar con la persona de recepción, le digo, vengo a dar masaje, para que entendiera, ella no tengo que decir reflexología, no, masaje, para los pies. ¿Quiénes son los migrantes que vienen con más lastimados los pies? Mándemelos, tráigalos.
So he went again to Casa del Migrante. He went to the receptionist and he told the person that he was going to give a massage to the feet of the migrant. And he asked for the migrants that like were most in need, the ones that had the most wounds and the most, like the most in need. And again, something I forgot is that he said that the person that takes the least amount of time to travel through Mexico is at least 1 month. But there's people that take over a year. Right?
Hay migrantes que los tenis, los zapatos no se los quitan en todo el camino porque se los roban. Ya al no quitárselo se hacen ampollas, la humedad, y eso va dañando la planta del pie. Hay veces que la planta del pie con las ampollas viene cocida la carne.
So there's migrants that don't take off their shoes while traveling all over Mexico, right? Because if they take off their shoes, then someone could steal their shoes, their tennis shoes. So by not removing your shoes, you get like the sweat, the blisters, the wounds. Then there's times where they finally take off their shoes and the skin is already like stuck together to like the socks and everything, So if they remove it,
Entonces cuando vienen, ellos lo primero que se preguntan, ¿cuánto te pagan a ti para que tú hagas esto? Ni en mi casa lo harían.
So when he was there, the first thing that migrants think is, how much are you getting paid for you to do this to me? Because not even at my house would they do this to me,
Esto tiene un contexto religioso y cultural, los pies. Lo religioso, pues Jesús lavó los pies de sus discípulos. Servir a otros. Cultural, solo los esclavos limpiaban los pies de sus amos.
So washing the feet, taking care of the feet of someone, has a religious and cultural context to it. Religious, of course, Jesus washed the feet of his disciples, serving other people. And cultural, only slaves were the ones washing the feet of their masters.
Cuando empiezo a llegar con ellos, a los migrantes les da pena. ¿Por qué? El olor, la apariencia, las uñas largas. ¿Cómo es que tú vas a soportar eso? Guantes para seguridad de ellos y mucho corazón para poder atenderlo. Hacer la diferencia en una persona.
When I go to the migrant, many of them are scared, ashamed, shy. One of them, or one reason, the smell. Another reason, they might have like long toenails, the wounds, right? So they're kind of ashamed. But with care, with gloves for his protection, for their protection, and with a lot of love.
Ahorita voy a ir platicando mi experiencia de los pies de Cristo, de la reflexología, pero voy a contar mi historia en la Bestia, en el tren, porque debido a que 3 años estuve dando terapia, escuchando a los migrantes, me decían, oh, es que tuve frío, y yo, frío. Oh, es que tuve hambre, ay, hambre. Oh, es que no puedo dormir. 3 años escuchándolos, que dije, yo quiero experimentar esa experiencia en el tren.
So right now he's going to continue telling the story of the feet of Christ's ministry, right? But he's also going to share a little bit of his journey riding the Beast, which is a train that comes from the southern Mexico all the way up north. Because it was 3 years that he spent listening to the stories of the migrants. And they would tell him, I was cold, like, whatever. Like, I was hungry, whatever. Like he would listen to all these stories, but at the same time, he had a really hard time believing what he heard. So he decided to go and do the journey himself.
Y mientras voy contando la historia, yo necesito un voluntario.
So while I'm telling the story, I need a volunteer.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Cuando yo me preparé para la bestia, las mejores recomendaciones eran de ellos. El dinero, cómo guardar dinero y que no te robaran. Entonces, en esta parte del pantalón, que es la pretina, la descosían y aquí metían el dinero.
When he was doing the journey, when he went to go through the journey of the beast, the migrants were, they were the ones who prepared them to do the journey. So they would tell them that in order to hide the money, they would like hide the money and sew the money within the pan right here, like, I don't know how to say it.
Otra de las cosas cuando yo pido mis vacaciones, 10 días de vacaciones, y me voy. Primero fue en camión, fueron hasta la Ciudad de México. De la Ciudad de México me fui a Veracruz. De Veracruz subí hasta donde es Tenosique, en Tenosique, en Tabasco, y allí llego a la 72, la casa del migrante.
So he asked for his vacations, okay? And he talked again with Father Javier Calvillo. He got 10 days of vacation time. And he went to Mexico City. From Mexico City, he went to Veracruz. And from Veracruz, he went to, I wish we had a map, but from Veracruz, he went to Tenosique, which is also very close to the border between Mexico and Guatemala. And at Tenosique, Tabasco, they have a migrant shelter called La 72. And La 72, he didn't say this, but it got the name because there was a time where they actually killed like 72 people, 72 migrants. And that's where it got the name La 72.
Cuando llego a México, a la Ciudad de México, llego en la madrugada, y no era la misma central que tenía que llegar y me tenía que ir a otra. Me robaron ahí y fue el primer robo porque eran las 2 de la mañana. 2 de la mañana, entonces para moverme de un punto a otro, ahí fue mi primera experiencia, mi bienvenida a la ruta.
So when he got to Mexico City, like his very, very first experience is that he went to the wrong bus station. And he was supposed to go to another bus station. And while he was there, of course, he was robbed. So that was like his welcome into Mexico City.
Cuando llego a la 72, mi primera experiencia es que llego y en la casa del migrante de Ciudad Juárez atendíamos a 80, 150. Cuando llego a Tenosique, estamos hablando de 400, 600, 800 migrantes y... ¿Cómo? Es mucha gente.
So when at Ciudad Juárez, at Casa del Migrante, they were attending about 50, 60, 150 people. But when he gets to Tenosique, to La 72, it was 300, 400, up to 800 people.
Cuando llegamos a la Tenosique, me invitan a ir a buscar a unas chicas que no alcanzaron a llegar a ese punto y vamos en una troca. Cuando llegamos encontramos a 2 mujeres con un machetazo en los pechos porque las quisieron violar.
His very first experience when he went to La 72. He got there, he introduced himself to the priest, and the priest was all like, okay, you want to help? Come with me. They got in the truck, and they went to encounter 2 ladies that were not able to make it to the shelter. Of course, they were still alive, but someone had tried to rape them, and since they didn't, they defended themselves. They cut their breasts.
With machetes.
Yes.
Para mí fue bien impresionante ver esa imagen y ver otra realidad que no era la que yo había visto. Es muy diferente oír a vivir.
For me, it was a very difficult encounter because I was experiencing something that I didn't know existed. You know, it's very different for someone to hear the stories than to actually be there present and like living it, you know.
Doy unas terapias ahí en la casa en la 72, duermo una noche y continúo en mi viaje. Entonces estábamos esperando subirnos a la Bestia, pero el primera experiencia con eso es de que cuando viene el tren, viene a una velocidad, entonces tienes que correr, agarrarte de la escalera y subirte, pero muchas veces no alcanzas y lo que haces es que la escalera te saca el hombro.
So, I was there at Los 72. I gave a couple of therapies. I only slept there a night, and I continued my journey. And we were getting ready to ride the beast, to get on the beast, but to getting up on the beast is very difficult because there's times where it could slow down, but then all of a sudden it speeds up. So once you try to get like the ladder, grab the ladder, it's coming at a very high speed that it dislocates your shoulder.
Entonces hay que ayudar a otros a acomodarle el hombro. Y cuando subes, otra de las cosas es de que tienes que amarrarte. Desde ese tiempo yo uso solo cinto de tela porque te acuestas a dormir y te amarras. Porque dormido te puedes caer del tren.
So you have to help other people. Of course, if they dislocate the shoulder, you have to help them in a way, like put it back in place. And from the moment he rode the beast, from then on, he always uses a belt with a cloth, right, made out of cloth, or kind of like the one I'm wearing also. Right, because when you're up in the train, you're supposed to tie yourself up to the train because if not, you could fall.
También, hay tres consejos que se les da que no. Los migrantes no pueden decir que tienen familiares en Estados Unidos porque corren el riesgo que los secuestren. El segundo es tampoco que van acompañados porque pueden secuestrar a uno de los dos para obligarlo a hacer cosas.
So there's three advice that migrants give each other. The first advice is you're never supposed to say that you have a relative in the United States. Because if not, they could kidnap you and then force your family to pay a certain amount of money. The second advice is if you're traveling with someone, you're always supposed to say you're traveling by yourself. Because again, if you're traveling with someone, then you're risking that one of you is going to get kidnapped in order to make the other person do things that they don't want.
La tercera es, todo es enemigo.
And the third advice is, everyone is your enemy.
Porque los migrantes son estafados por taxistas, camioneros, policía, todos quieren sacar ventaja económica.
Migrants are always taken advantage by everyone. By taxi drivers, by bus drivers, by the police, by every single person. Everyone wants to take advantage.
Cuando vas en la Bestia, en ese sector, vamos arriba del tren, del vagón, y empieza a bajar la velocidad el tren y se suben gentes armadas y empiezan a todos a quitarles el dinero. Entonces, desde la ropa para ver qué traes, que no escondas el dinero, y los que llevan a algún coyote, estos tres son míos, aquí está el dinero. Y vas pagando cuota en cada punto donde hay revisiones de el crimen organizado y pues de la policía.
So when you're on the beach, all of a sudden, they don't know why, right? The train starts slowing down. And then all of a sudden, there's people with like huge pistols and like, you know, like AK-47s, so all those kind of things, and they get up on the train and they start taking everything that they have. They start checking their clothing. Let's see, they don't have any money hidden. They rob them, whatever they have. But if there's a group of migrants traveling with a smuggler or a coyote, then the coyote tells the people that get up on the train, like, hey, like these people are with me, don't do anything to them, but here's money, right? So along the way, they're always paying a certain amount of money, and they're paying a fee in order to protect themselves from the cartels, but also from the police.
Cuando suben, a la persona que está a un lado de mí, con un martillo le dan en la cabeza y lo tiran. Yo estoy seguro que esa persona murió, pero estaba a un lado de mí y el miedo que me dio de que pude haber sido yo.
When these people get up on the train, there is a guy next to me, and these people with a hammer, they hit him on the head and threw him over the train. He's sure that that person died.
Oh, yeah.
But his feeling of seeing that and knowing that it could have been him.
Esto lo hacen para intimidar a todos los demás. No se metan, se mueren. Pero también hay gente que viene entre los migrantes que les van diciendo quiénes traen dinero, quiénes son familiares. Entonces, esa gente está muy organizada.
So they do this in order in a way to intimidate others, right? In order for you to not jump in and try to help other migrants that are traveling with you. But also, along the people riding with the train, there's people from the cartels that are going up there with you, because when the other people get up on the train, they know who to tell. Like, this guy is carrying money, this guy is carrying money, so they're very well organized.
Cuando vas viviendo todo eso, te das cuenta que te estás jugando la vida y que la gente se viene jugando, porque podemos juzgar a los migrantes que andan vagabundeando, que andan paseando. No, se están jugando la vida.
When you see that, you start realizing that you're risking your life. And it's very common for us and for people to judge migrants and think that they're just like begging and wandering around. But no, they come here risking their lives.
La gente viene buscando una mejor vida. Y es todo derecho que tiene un ser humano. Juárez, El Paso, somos hechos de migrantes. Mis papás no son de Juárez. Mis papás vinieron de otros lados, buscando una mejor vida para mí. Porque ellos no deberían de tener ese mismo derecho.
And they come here risking their lives. And they come here looking for a better future. And that's a right that every human being should have. Because Juárez and El Paso are migrant cities. They were formed by migrants. And he's saying, my parents were not from Juárez. They came here looking for a better future for them. And again, that's a right everyone should have.
La otra experiencia fue en Veracruz. Como me habían robado el power bank de mi celular para estarme comunicando, entré a una tienda y no me dejaron entrar. Porque venía mal vestido. Porque pensaban que iba a robar. Entonces ahí me di cuenta de cómo nosotros miramos a los demás por cómo visten, sin saber la historia. Yo traía una tarjeta de crédito para pagar y no me dejaban entrar. Me tuvo que acompañar un policía adentro a un lado de mí para asegurarse que yo no robara.
So his second experience was when he was in Veracruz. I think like they had stolen his phone battery or something. So he went to a Best Buy to try to go buy a battery, right? But they wouldn't let him in because of his appearance. Because again, like he was dirty, like he probably hadn't showered. So they thought that he was gonna steal, that he was gonna rob. He had to go in with a security guy literally right next to him in order for him to go get the battery, because again they thought he was going to steal. And he had a credit card with him. So, I mean, he had money. But that's again when you realize how we judge people by their appearance.
Cuando sigo avanzando, después de la Ciudad de México, llegamos a un pueblo y yo iba visitando casas de migrantes, daba masajes y continuaba yo porque solo tenía 10 días. Y estábamos en un vagón, éramos como 10, 12 migrantes y un joven estaba dormido en el piso y en eso se sube un policía. Da 3 pasos y le da una patada en los dientes, se los tumba. Y corta cartucho y dice, van a darme todo el dinero que traen. Y si no se van de aquí, los vamos a desaparecer. Lord.
You have to keep in mind that he only had 10 days, right? So he would only spend very few times at each casa del migrante where he went. So like he would get to a little town, give a couple of therapy, move to another town, give therapy, and that's what he was doing. But in a little town, I don't know what town, but they were sleeping in a train wagon, a wagon. And there was about 12 migrants there with him. And all of a sudden, there's a police officer that gets up on the wagon, gives 3 steps, and with a kick, like he kicks, there was a migrant that was sleeping. So he just kicks him right on the face and knocks down all of his teeth. Oh. So he, with a pistol on his hand, like he told them, you guys are gonna give me all the money you have. If not, we're gonna just make it disappear. Right?
Tuvimos que agarrar al migrante, llevarlo a una casa, que lo curaran. Cuando les contamos lo que había pasado, nos dijeron, váyanse. Va a pasar otro tren, en el siguiente pueblo lo dejan en un lugar seguro. Y lo dejamos y yo seguí mi camino.
So they took the guy, they went to the closest shelter, told them what had happened, and at the shelter they told them, just leave right away. There's going to be another train coming soon. Take them to the closest hospital or whatever, and just leave, get out of here. Because if not, I mean, they are going to come after you. So they did. They took him, made sure he was okay, and he continued his way.
La experiencia que vas viendo en el tren es de que cuando te decían tener frío, los migrantes vienen de lugares tropicales. Ellos no están acostumbrados. Yo vengo del norte, es frío. Y yo decía, ¿solo eso para el frío en la noche? En el tren vas arriba y el ruido te va durmiendo. Te va hipnotizando. Si vas de subida es un ruido, si vas de bajada es otro, si vas entre montañas es otro, si va en lugar abierto es otro. Ese ruido lo traes aquí, lo traes aquí, lo traes aquí.
And when you're up in the train, okay, you start realizing certain things. When the migrants would tell him they were cold, he didn't realize, right? But when he was up in the train, you have to keep in mind that migrants come from a very tropical climate or weather, right? So they're not used to the cold. He's from the north, from the north. So he's a little bit more used to the cold, but still, that's all he had, just a t-shirt. So it wasn't enough. And then the sound of the train tracks or the train going, right? So if you're going uphill, it's like hypnotizing. He's saying it's a very hypnotizing sound. So if you're going uphill, it's a sound. If you're going downhill, it's a sound. If you're passing through the mountains, it's a different sound. If you're in an open area, it's a different sound. But that sound, you have it here every day and night, right? So it's very hypnotizing.
Para el frío, pues yo decía, ¿cómo lo hacían? La gente orinaba en botellas y las abrazaba. Y como ibas arriba y no había agua, te tomabas tus propios orines.
So for the cold, he would always wonder what they would do, right? So they would literally get a bottle, pee on it, and hug it to try to stay warm, right? But then at the same time, since you're up there, you don't have any food, you don't have any water, then you have to drink your own pee.
En el camino hay gente muy buena y hay gente mala, pero había unas mujeres que cuando pasaba el tren nos aventaban comida. Y ellas, lo que alcanzabas a agarrar era pan del cielo.
So when you're riding the train, of course, there's very good people and there's very bad people. But on the way, you would encounter the group of ladies that they would try to feed them. So they would they would throw water, they would throw like a bag with bread or whatever in order for them to have something to eat. But like he's saying, like whatever you were able to catch and grab, it was like heaven for them.
Yo llegué solo hasta Torreón, es poquito más de la mitad de México. Yo ya no pude seguir, llegué a una casa inmigrante, traía diarrea, temperatura, cansancio y ya no pude seguir. Le hablé al padre Javier que iba siguiendo todo mi trayecto y no traía ni dinero. Pagó mi pasaje de Torreón a Ciudad Juárez, que son como, no sé, 10 horas. Y esa fue mi experiencia en el tren.
So he only made it up to Torreón, which is a little bit more than half of the way up to Mexico, right? He couldn't continue anymore. So he had to call Father Javier again from Casa de Juárez, and he told them like, he couldn't do it anymore. He was sick, he was tired, he had no money, so Father Javier had to buy him a ticket in order to do that.
Esa experiencia cuando llegué a casa, 3 meses oyendo el tren. Dormía, cerraba los ojos y el tren. El tren. Viendo los rostros, recordando las canciones que cantaban los migrantes en el tren, porque era la única alegría cantar.
When he got home, he basically couldn't sleep. Like for 3 months, he had the sound of the train tracks in his head. 3 months. So he had a very difficult time sleeping. And all he could do was remember the songs that the migrants would sing when they were up in the train. Because that was their only joy.
No eres el mismo después de vivir eso. Y te queda eso porque tienes que entender a la gente, que miras a un migrante y tú no sabes la historia que trae sus pies, que trae su vida. Tú puedes ver un vago, puedes ver una imagen diferente, pero por dentro hay algo. Es un ser humano. Es un ser humano que busca vivir mejor para él y su familia.
You're not the same. Once you go through this experience, through that experience, you're never the same. Because You could see a migrant, and you could know there's a story behind him or her. You could see a beggar, you could see a homeless person or whatever, and you know they're all carrying a story, and you're not the same.
Yo estuve 2 años más en la casa del migrante ayudando. Después me tocó, por mi trabajo de la estación, y luego la pandemia y todo eso. Pero me marcó a mí el que la gente tiene que saber eso. Tiene que ver otra cara de ellos. Tiene que interesarse en la persona, en su historia. No todos son malos. No todos son buenos. Pero hay una historia.
So, he spent a couple more years, probably 2 more years, helping at the Casa Migrante, but due to the radio station and other things he had to do, like he had to move on. But again, from that experience on, he was not the same. And it made him realize that you have to know the story of the people. Of course, they're not all good, they're not all bad. That doesn't matter. At the end of the day, each one of us has a story. And you have to know the story.
El trabajo con los migrantes, yo le preguntaba a los sacerdotes o a las de las casas de migrantes, no puedes salvar a todos. ¿Cómo te quitas ese sentimiento del corazón de no poder ayudar a todos? Y la única respuesta es hacer la diferencia en uno. Todos somos influencers. En nuestros hijos, en nuestros vecinos, en nuestra familia, en el trabajo, en nuestros amigos. Entonces, lo que nosotros hagamos podemos influir en los demás a que vean, a que conozcan otra historia.
So, he would talk to the priests, to different priests, not only Father Javier, but he would talk to different priests, and
Lo de la diferencia de ser en que hacer la diferencia.
Yes, they would of course tell him, you're not going to be able to solve the problem. You're not going to be able to help all the migrants, but you could make the difference in the life of at least one person. And if you're able to do that, then like basically you have done your work. Like,
sí, lo de influenciar a los demás.
And you as a person, you have the power to influence other people, right? Again, so like getting to know the stories of the people, sharing those stories, sharing what you learn, sharing what you hear, what you see.
Y que yo los invito a ustedes, ¿va? Como maestros, influencien a sus alumnos. Ellos tienen que conocer otra cara. Quizás ellos han tenido otra experiencia de nacer en un país de primer mundo. Pero hay otros mundos que no debieran existir, ¿verdad?
So I invite you as teachers, you have the power to influence your students. You have the power to, again, share those stories you have heard and everything you've learned. Share it with your students. Maybe they have the blessing of have been born in a third-class world or whatever, but there's other worlds that shouldn't exist, unfortunately.
Y que esta experiencia que les comparto solo es otra gente merece otra mejor vida, y nosotros podemos hacer poquito para que esa vida de esa persona sea mejor.
So this experience, this testimony that I'm sharing with you is to also help you realize that there's people that deserve a different life. And by you sharing and influencing other people, we're helping them achieve that other life that they deserve.
Y gracias por escucharme, y que esto se los comparto del corazón.
Thank you for listening to my story and what I have shared with you. Please know that I have shared it from my heart.
Thank you. Gracias.
Well, I don't know. ¿Cuánto tiempo tienen con él?
No, sí está bien.
So I don't know if you all have any questions for her.
What year was, when was that?
His journey?
Yeah, when did he do that?
¿Qué año hizo el recorrido?
Ay, ayer estaba viendo la carta de 95, fue 96, 97.
1996, 1995, 97, more or less.
So like, it's the train like, so he went from like, was it Mexico City all the way up to, what town?
So Mexico City is not a border city, okay?
Oh.
But that's where the first place he went to in order to travel to the border.
Farther down.
Yes.
Okay, so went to the border of Mexico and then
Yeah.
try to go up, and that's,
Yes.
and that train goes all the way up to like, okay. And
¿Hasta dónde llega el tren? ¿Hasta Tijuana?
Ves que se hace por Tijuana y luego entra por Ciudad Juárez y luego el otro acá por Matamoros.
It goes three different ways. So like it does come all the way from the south, and then it makes all the way up north. So it could go like to the Valley of Texas, Ciudad Juárez, or Tijuana.
and it's called the Beast.
Yes.
And do they ride on top of
They
it?
ride on top. I have some
They're like
photos.
they're like stowaways.
What's the name of that movie? Is it El Norte?
I've heard of the Beast.
So they're like stowaways. So the train goes off and they're running on to grab on and right on top.
Oh.
So they're not paying for a ticket, honey. So he's saying he
There's a
saw a
lot
lot
of
of people
newer
are trying to go
movies
on
about the
top
Beast too.
Yeah.
and sleeping.
I think I
with
have
two
some
people.
photos, so I'll try to show them to you right now.
What's the reality of the beast now?
¿Cuál es la realidad? ¿Sigue siendo la misma? It's still the same.
Yeah. Y es más cruda porque ahora están viniendo más migrantes.
It's even, he's saying that it's even more difficult now because there's more people trying to come over.
Sin venezolanos, no venían muchos venezolanos, ya están viniendo más venezolanos, haitianos, jamaiquinos, bueno, hay africanos, de todo el mundo.
So there's more people trying to come over Venezuela.
Más los mexicanos que también están saliendo de México.
Haiti, from Jamaica, plus the people from Mexico trying to leave. So, it's more people.
I was just wondering, women and children, is it I'm guessing it's majority men, probably because of the physicality, but how do women and children, like, I can't even, are there many?
So ella se imagina que obviamente la mayoría sería hombres, ¿verdad? Por la
Sí.
dificultad. Pero como las mujeres y los
Todos.
niños.
Hay niños de 8 años solos.
Everyone. Kids 8 years old by themselves.
Are there more people taking the train up, or like is the train made? I don't know what to ask. Are there more people taking the train to try to come up, or are there more people like walking, doing cars, like other ways?
Que si la mayoría de la gente toma el tren, o se sube al tren, o prefieren caminar, o...
Es que ya se ha diversificado y es un negocio. Entonces ahora es por camión, por tren, pero recuerden que los de tren son los que no tienen dinero.
So now it's very diverse. People could ride the train, people could get on a bus, or whatever. But you have to keep in mind that those riding the train are the ones that come with no money.
Yeah.
El migrante que con menos dinero que entra por Chiapas es con $50. Pero desde Chiapas hasta cualquier frontera te llega a costar $15,000, $20,000. Que ellos tienen que vender su carro, su terreno o pedir prestado y su familia está en garantía.
So the person that comes in through the border of Chiapas and Guatemala, right, with the least amount of money could be $50. But making your way up north could cost you up to $15,000, $20,000. But again, like connecting to what like Border Patrol said, that family had to sell their home, they had to sell everything that they have, and now their family is basically in debt,
In debt to the cartel.
And en deuda con los carteles.
Pues sí.
Yes.
So the two women that he talked about at the beginning of his talk who had their breasts cut, what happened to them?
So las mujeres que habló al principio que les cortaron el pecho, ¿qué pasó con ellas?
Se quedaron en el hospital, yo seguí.
So
Los llevaron a
they
un
stayed in the
hospital.
hospital, and he had to continue his way up.
Oh, so he doesn't know that they got to the hospital.
Is it, I'm wondering now of what Border Patrol had said, is it his experience that like everybody has paid, or not, well yeah, everybody has paid something to cartel?
So, ellos escucharon a Border Patrol, ¿verdad? Y Border Patrol, pues dice que muchos, o casi la mayoría, le paga a los carteles para llegar al norte. Entonces ella pregunta si es cierto, o sea, si todos o qué cantidad de migrantes realmente están en deuda con los carteles.
Son más los pobres.
It's more the poor.
O sea, si tuvieran ese dinero se quedarían en su tierra.
If they had the money, they would stay home. So they don't.
They have to.
No es, esto es oferta-demanda. Mientras haya quien pague,
This is a business. As long as there's someone that has the money to pay, then it's going to continue. You know?
So it's obviously the train stops, and that's when like the police or coyotes come and like take advantage of the migrants, or they like just stop the train and the train's got to stop. You know what I mean?
It kind of slows down.
And do they go
When
in?
they get up on the train,
Okay.
do what they have to do.
Yeah.
When once they get down, all of a sudden, it starts speeding up.
Okay.
So there's like certain areas where they know like when to get up.
Oh, no, it's okay, go ahead.
So your testament is really powerful. This can hurt him so much, but what keeps him going? Like, how does he keep doing this?
So dice que obviamente su testimonio es un testimonio muy poderoso y que obviamente le toca mucho su vida y su corazón, pero dice que cómo encuentra usted la fuerza para seguir haciendo lo que hace.
empecé mi plática diciendo que cuando te buscas a ti, tienes que encontrarte con los demás primero para encontrarte a ti mismo.
So he started off his talk by saying that in order to encounter yourself, you have to have that encounter with others.
Do you find that by doing your healing work, it helps heal yourself too?
Sí, al momento de hacer la terapia y la reflexología en los pies de los migrantes está sanando usted mismo.
Sí, porque estás haciendo algo por otra persona. Recibes tú más cuando das que cuando recibes.
Yes, because you're doing something for someone. And you receive more by giving, por hacer más para una persona. Yeah, you receive more by doing something for another person than you would if you do it for yourself.
Have you ever thought of writing a post? Oh, so is that your question? Okay, vas, que si has pensado en escribir un libro.
Have you thought about writing?
Han salido en periódicos, vinieron de Nueva York, vino una periodista, hizo un escrito para un periódico de Nueva York, en Monterrey y en México sacaron eso. Pero recuerden que hace más ruido lo malo que lo bueno.
So there's people, a journalist that came from New York, a couple of journalists in Monterrey in Mexico, and they've written about his story, but you also have to keep in mind that all the negative things that you hear, in a sense, are gonna be louder than the good things, and more like they're gonna reach more people than those doing good.
Y esta pandemia nos hizo que nos encerráramos todos. Entonces es necesario salir a ese encuentro de los demás, porque si no, la pandemia no ha acabado por dentro con nosotros.
So the pandemic made us isolate ourselves and go into our homes, right? But now, since it's starting to calm down, we have to go and encounter others, because if not, the pandemic has not finished inside of us.
How, like, did he have to hide kind of his identity? Because he's not necessarily like a migrant. You know, like when he's on the train, did he have to tell people, like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get out here? Or did he tell people, like, yeah, I'm just doing this to see what y'all are going through? You
That's
know
a
what I mean?
good question. Yeah, that's a good question. Pues dice que si en realidad, cuando usted se fue a hacer el recorrido, si de cierta forma tuvo que, pues como disfrazar su identidad para, ¿no?
Normal.
No, just normal.
No one was offended, like, what are you doing? Like, why
So-
are you
Sí.
doing this?
La gente preguntaba, ¿tú eres mexicano? Mi apariencia. No, mexicano, tú no eres mexicano. Alto, güero, ojos. Tú no
So yeah,
mexicano.
many people thought, like, they would ask him, what are you doing? Like, you're not Mexican. Well, he's Mexican, right? But of course, just his appearance, he has a little lighter skin, he has green eyes. Like, they would tell him, you're not Mexican.
Sí. Y estás loco.
You're crazy.
Estás loco.
Is your hope for the future to have no border, to have no wall? Like, what do you know, is that okay to ask?
Yeah. Si su visión para el futuro, que ¿cómo se imagina usted el futuro? Con muro, sin muro, como, no sé.
La problemática del humano es, siempre nos va a sorprender. Entonces siempre va a haber retos. Y los retos son para vencerse.
As human beings, we always surprise ourselves. And we always have obstacles on our way. And the purpose of obstacles are for us to overcome them.
Did he ever fear that, like, you know what, I might die on this excursion that I decided to voluntarily go on?
I bet he
Like,
did.
Yes.
Like, or did he have to make that decision in his mind, like, you know what, I might die, but like, this is just more important?
A ver si la puedo traducir. Ese sí, obviamente si tuvo miedo, ¿verdad?, de morir, o si tuvo que, pues básicamente llegar a la conclusión, ok, puedo morir, pero de todas formas lo voy a hacer.
Es que estás dentro del tren. No hay para atrás. Es para adelante. No puedes regresarte. No hay opción. Es adelante, adelante, adelante. Para atrás no, porque atrás está más lejos de mi objetivo, voy a volver a lo mismo, va a ser peor, voy a fracasar. Lo intenté. Eso es lo único que te mantiene. Y en mí era, voy a llegar a casa. O sea, lo mío acaba llegando a casa, Ciudad Juárez. Ellos no. Su ruta sigue.
So once you're up in the train, I mean, there's no way back. Like, either you keep going or you keep going, right? Because if you look back, if you go back, I mean, it's like, I'm gonna fail, I didn't, you know, it's like,
You gotta go all in.
yeah, you have to go all in, you just have to keep on going. And for him, it was like, I'm gonna make it home. Like, his goal was to make it to Juárez. That's it. But for them, they don't have anything else.
Because you knew you had a home to,
Right?
to go
He knew
to.
he had a home. They don't. You know? So like, it's either you keep trying, that's it.
Hay dos tipos de personas que se atienden en la casa del migrante. Los que vienen deportados de Estados Unidos, que vienen con los sueños rotos, que vienen de otra realidad, que ya vieron el primer mundo y se sienten frustrados, destrozados. ¿Qué voy a hacer? No voy a ganar dólares, mi familia se quedó allá, o sea, toda una problemática. Y nosotros tenemos que decir, todo va a estar bien. Donde tú estés, tú la vas a hacer. Si la hiciste en un país desconocido, con un idioma diferente, tú la haces en cualquier lugar. Ese es el primero. Le dices tú eso y luego la segunda.
Sí. So there's, at Casa del Migrante, there's two type of people that go there. The first group of people is those who have been deported from the United States that come with their dreams shattered, basically, right? Because they weren't able to make it. But then, you, in a sense, you have to help them realize that if you made it, if you were able, like in a sense, to be successful in a country that's not yours, you could be successful anywhere, right?
El segundo son los migrantes que vienen para Estados Unidos. Y nadie puede robarle su sueño. Tú no le puedes decir no vayas, no hagas, porque es su sueño. Porque de a donde vaya va a estar mejor que de donde viene.
And the second group of people that go to Casa del Migrante are those that are making their way up north, right, trying to come to the United States. And for them, no one, as much as they try, they can't take away their dreams. ¿Qué más dijo? No,
Sí.
¿Por qué?
Porque de donde viene, a donde vayas va a estar mejor que de donde viene.
Yeah, because where you're going, wherever you go, you're gonna be at a better place than they were back home.
Esto es muy difícil entenderlo, su psicología de la persona migrante, porque no se siente seguro, no sabe a dónde va, no sabe qué se va a encontrar, pero sí sabe de dónde está la realidad de que está dejando.
It's very difficult to understand the way of thinking of a migrant because they don't know
¿De dónde va?
where they're going. They
¿Cómo va a
don't know
encontrar?
what to expect. No sabe dónde van, no sabe qué esperar, no sabe what they're going to encounter
Cómo lograrlo.
or what they're going to go through, right? They don't know.
Pero sí,
But they do know what they left back home, what they had to go through back home.
That unknown is better than the reality.
Do any of the people, the ones that get to the border and are humiliated, treated poorly, feel their dreams shattered, would they go back home and say, do not travel?
Some do. De las personas que vienen y llegan, por ejemplo, a la frontera o así, y ya vienen con pues, sus sueños rotos, desesperados y así, pues muchos, yo me imagino que prefieren regresarse o le dicen a sus familias que no vengan.
a ver, los que ya están en la frontera,
Los que, the ones that make it to the border, or
They get to the border and they're denied and say, sorry.
o por ejemplo si llegan a la frontera y ahorita, bueno, por ejemplo con lo de permanecer en México, que no los están dejando entrar o los están regresando, y ya, pues ya básicamente,
pues están en México. Es la mitad del camino. Falta. Es que no, en el migrante no es su objetivo quedarse en México. Porque su familia está acá, sus hermanos, su tía, o sea, muchos tienen familiares en Estados Unidos. Entonces, su objetivo no es quedarse en México. No, hay de todo tipo de migrantes. Migrantes como cuando estuvieron los jamaiquinos que se quedaron en Tijuana, ellos no pudieron pasar y se quedaron en Tijuana a trabajar. O los cubanos, algunos cubanos que durante la pandemia no pudieron cruzar, se quedaron a trabajar en Juárez. Quizás es esperar un poco más, pero no es quedarse.
so for the migrants, their goal is always to make it to the U.S. because many of them, or almost all of them, have a relative or a family member in the United States. So if you make it all the way to the border,
You're not going to go
for
back.
them, I'm halfway, like I'm almost there, you know? So there's a group of people from Jamaica or from Haiti that they made it to the border and they stayed in Tijuana to work there. There's a group of people from Cuba that made it to Ciudad Juárez and they stayed in Juárez and worked there, right? But for some of them, it might mean I'm gonna stay here and work here for a bit, but I'm just gonna wait a little longer until there's a possibility for me to get to the other side.
En el camino, yo recuerdo ahorita, estábamos en el tren y estaban dos jóvenes y uno de ellos ya había estado en Estados Unidos. Y el que no había venido le decía, platícame cómo es allá. Dime cómo se come hamburguesa.
He was remembering on his way up there was two young men, and one of them had already been in the U.S. and the other one had never been in the U.S. So they would just keep talking, and the one hadn't been in the U.S. would frequently ask the other young man, like, tell me, how is it up there? How's the lifestyle? What do you do? Like, tell me, how do you eat a hamburger? Right? What does it taste like?
Entonces, lo que alimente tu sueño, te agarras.
Whatever keeps your dream going, you're gonna hold on to it.
So like, so they get to the border, like, and I know you said like they might work until an opportunity opposes itself to go across. Now, does that mean like a court date, or I gotta like a ride to go a different route across the border? Like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, or is that just go plead for asylum, then you go to a different route? Like,
a little bit of everything basically. Yeah. So, pues obviamente los que se quedan en la frontera un rato, por ejemplo, las personas de Cuba, los de Haití, Jamaica, que se quedaron y se establecieron ahí. Pues obviamente es un poco de... Sí, un poco de todo, con lo de permanecer en México, que le den su corte, o buscar otra ruta, o X, ¿verdad? Esperar pues esa segunda oportunidad.
La gente va a buscar sus opciones. Aquí es donde el narco les ofrece, te doy $5,000 porque cargues una mochila de marihuana por el desierto. Si cruzas, te ganaste $5,000. Si no cruzas, no te apures, te van a regresar.
So people are going to look for those opportunities, right? Of course, remain in Mexico, wait for the court date, people are going to look for those opportunities.
Yeah.
And this is where the drug cartels literally take advantage of them. Like, I'll give you $5,000 if you carry this backpack through the desert. If you make it, you just earn $5,000. If you don't make it, don't worry, they're going to send you back.
And that backpack is full of
Drugs, yes.
And do they actually pay them?
Si en realidad les pagan.
Hasta que llegan, algunos sí, algunos...
Well, if they make it, some of them might get paid, some of them...
Es que recuerden que hay muchos desaparecidos.
Yes.
You have to also
O sea,
keep in mind...
La población dice, tantos migrantes. No puedes contar a todos.
You have to keep in mind all of those people that basically they're disappeared. No one knows where they are or what happened to them. We might hear in like a phrase of like there's certain a number of migrants. It's impossible to count every single person.
¿Y qué pasa con los migrantes llevando la droga? Si ellos regresan, pero ellos tienen que pagar la droga que perdieron, ¿no?
Es que el coyote que es el responsable de la droga, ellos nomás transportan. Cuando los echan para acá, ellos lo que no tienen que decir es dónde los contactaron, quiénes son, o sea, tú hablas vas, y te regresan, es un riesgo.
Because I said, what about the people that get caught, they lose their drugs, that those drugs were confiscated, they come back. And what happens to those people? They come back and they have not delivered their drugs. They got to pay for those drugs somehow.
Right, as well as
But then he said too that but then also if you talk up there, if you talk, then you're really in trouble because then when you come back, they know that you've talked.
And then your family could be in trouble, I'm sure, too.
Yeah, and I imagine if you cross with drugs, you're also going to get a felony. And
Of course, yeah.
so you now
Are a criminal.
are a criminal, and so wherever your records go, you're
Sí, pues es muy complicado todo. Obviamente, si cruzas con droga, entonces es una felonía, y luego si intentas cruzar, y eres un criminal, y es como...
Es que recuerden,
you're desperate.
nosotros mandamos unos stickers que decía, soy migrante, no criminal.
Right.
O sea, desde que entran ya son criminales. Al entrar a un país, desde México o Guatemala, de donde vengan, ya son criminales. Y son con esa etiqueta, soy criminal. No soy un migrante, soy un criminal. Pero, si ya rompí una regla, romper otras, yo quiero llegar allá. No sé cómo, yo tengo que llegar allá. ¿Cuántas reglas tenga que corromper? No sé. Yo no sé de leyes. Yo tengo que llegar allá.
So, they had this campaign where they made they ordered some stickers, and they had them write down like, "I'm a migrant, not a criminal," because for them, since the moment they're entering a country, it's not theirs.
Yeah.
They already have that label of criminal,
Right.
right? And in their mind, since they don't know about law,
Right.
and their goal is to make it to the U.S., then they're gonna, like, whatever laws I have to break in order for me to make it to the north, I'm gonna break them. Besides, I don't know about law, right? So, I mean, they always have that label of criminal.
Las personas que están en la casa de inmigrante, ¿qué hacen por la policía?
Hay actividades, hay personas que van a hacerles a que jueguen a las cartas, a que jueguen a la lotería, pintura, leerles cuentos. Recuerden que el tiempo que pasa es, pues ellos, aunque es un lugar seguro, porque puedo comer, puedo dormir, puedo bañarme, que uno es cuando valora. Yo llegué aquí y poderme darme un baño, valoras. En Tenosique nos dieron un caldo, que es lo más raro que yo he probado así, que son unas bolitas de harina, de maíz, de harina y agua. No había más. ¿Cómo alimentas a 800 gentes? Agua como un caldo, y eso era lo que comías.
Ms. Torres asked, like, what do people do when they're at Casa Migrante, right? So he was saying, Casa Migrante is a safe place for them. And that's where they learn to value what they have, right? Because they get to eat a hot meal, they get to shower, they get to do other things. And there's people who go and volunteer, they play cards with them, they give them workshops, art, all those kind of things. And again, that they learn how to value everything that they have. Because when he got here, like, being able to take a shower, it was such a relief for him, right?
Valorar el
You're valued, and then about the soup.
The weirdest thing that he had to eat when he did his journey was in Tenosique, where it was like a soup with
bolitas de
kind of
maíz.
like a dough,
Flour.
like
Flour
flour,
balls.
or corn or whatever. No sé cómo se dice,
Harina.
like
Yes.
la masa.
Masa
Not to
de corn.
No.
It's just
It's just flour.
Yeah, kind of like little balls of flour
A dumpling.
in
With the fat.
water. Like, it was the weirdest thing he had ever had to eat.
Y cuando vas viviendo todo eso, o sea, dar gracias
Right.
por lo que tengo, o sea, es muy poco, pero lo tengo. Lo mío iba a acabar en Juárez. Yo tenía una casa, yo tenía un trabajo, yo tenía una familia cercana, y ellos no.
Okay, you learn to value everything that you have, because again, for him, it was make it to Juarez because thankfully he had a home, he had a work, he had his family. So for him, everything was going to come to an end at Juarez. But for them,
No,
they don't have it.
they don't know what the end game is.
Sí. Terminas con la etiqueta de que eres extranjero donde estés.
So you always have that label that you're a stranger, doesn't matter wherever you are.